Today on Big Sound Small Town, we're in the Earl Scruggs Center in Shelby, North Carolina, and my guest is bassist Darrin Lovelace. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sandy.
All right, let's talk bass.
Okay.
You play standard bass? I mean, you don't play upright bass?
I have played up,
Oh, yeah.
The upright.
Yeah.
But yeah, standard bass is usually the standard.
The standard, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, yeah. Oh, that's good. Well, I mean, pretty much, if you're going to work, that's what you're going to be playing, really.
Right.
I mean, there's not, unless you're going to play bluegrass, there's not a whole lot of work for upright basses.
Not much.
So how did you become a bass player?
Oh, that's a good question. I started off as a guitarist.
Yeah.
Been playing, I guess, since I was 7. And somewhere around about 14, 15 years old, and everybody and their mama played the guitar, and no bassist. And if you had a band, you had to share a bassist from another band.
True, yes, that's true. Still kind of true.
So, funny thing is, I tuned down on my 6th string
Oh, yeah.
and played the top 4
Right,
strings,
yeah.
like a bass. And I said, why am I doing this? So I just went and, believe it or not, bought my first bass off of Sears and Roebuck.
Oh, really?
Yep, sure did.
That's pretty cool.
So I've been playing bass, I guess, since 1980.
Well, now, okay, we'll back it up then. You started playing guitar. How did that come about to begin with?
Oh, goodness.
That started music basically for you, right? Or did it start before guitar?
Yeah, I started getting interested in music, I guess, somewhere around about 5 years old.
Oh, okay.
My grandparents had a record collection that was just something else. And I didn't get that kind of exposure to the music with my parents because my dad, just about all he had was Hank Williams.
Yeah, yeah.
And
which is a fabulous musician.
yeah, I believe I could just about sing all of his songs verbatim.
Oh, yeah.
But man, they had everything. They had stuff like, and what they would do, they'd go to the record shop and say, "What's the latest
Right.
that's out now?" So
Which
they
is
had all
great.
these
I mean,
records.
that's great way
Yeah.
to do it.
Oh yeah, 45s, 33s. They had stuff like Three Dog Night
Oh, yeah.
and Creedence.
Yeah.
And then they'd have stuff like Johnny Cash and
Oh, yeah.
Loretta Lynn and stuff like that. So
It was pretty broad spectrum than you would get,
Oh.
right?
yeah, it was interesting because I would always, come down and stay with them, every weekend. So I got the opportunity to listen, to all this stuff.
That's good. I mean,
So-
that does broaden your horizons as a musician.
Yeah. And then I've got an uncle that plays guitar, and I guess that's where some of my interest
Right.
came from. And my dad bought my first guitar from Butler's Jewelry up there in Forest City.
Yeah.
So that's how I got started, and
Did you take lessons or somebody show you?
well, somebody showed me most of everything, but my mother had bought me this little self-teach book,
Yeah.
and I went through it and learned a few things and stuff like that. But I had friends that had played, and I was exposed to this one family back home, the Jenkins family, which was part of the Snuffy Jenkins family.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
And so most of them played, some kind of an instrument.
Right.
And so I picked up a lot from them.
Oh yeah. That's a good way to start the stuff. I mean, these days you have YouTube. You can go to. In my day, I had to get a lot off the radio or drop the needle to learn parts. Which
Yep.
is probably a little easier for people these days.
It is, but I still like to do it by ear.
Yeah. Well, I
Because
think it does train your ear a whole lot better to do it that way.
it does. And, I'm ordinarily a copycat anyway,
Yeah.
but, I would much rather just learn it on my own accord, than have to.
Well, and I think that everybody has to copy to ever get any place in music. If you don't, you have to have something to base what you're doing on. Even if you turn out to have your own style, you got to base it on something
Right.
to get there.
Right.
So do you still play guitar?
Some, very little. I do some writing, I've had a couple of songs that I've published, but yeah, I just bang around on it at home.
Yeah.
Hadn't done much with it in the past number of years. I've just been basically a bassist.
Yeah, I know how that is too. In fact, I just did a solo show not too long ago and realized I spent too much time as a bassist and not enough time as a guitarist,
Yeah,
So,
I know the feeling.
But, okay, we'll go to the songwriting part since you said that. Is that something you do a lot, or is that something you like to do?
No, I don't do a lot of it. When I was much younger, I'd do a great deal of it.
Right.
And never really did anything with it. Maybe if I had a band or something, I'd try to introduce it or
Right.
anything like that. But, we were talking, openly before
Yeah.
podcast, and, it was always a situation where one person had this song that they had written and I had one, and then,
Yeah.
ended up nobody got to
Oh, yeah.
do it. But I basically, it was therapeutic for me.
It is. I think that is a big part of writing.
Yeah.
That is pretty therapeutic. You can, and actually it's the writing part of it, I think, not so much as whether anybody ever does it or not. It's great to have somebody record your songs. It's great to record them yourself, but that's probably not the reason you wrote them to begin with.
No, my childhood was kind of scattered. Won't go into detail about that, but it was just therapeutic. I would sit and where I couldn't express with words or had anybody to talk to, I could write these feelings down,
Sure.
and man, I could be good and on my way,
Well, and that's served its purpose.
Yeah, it did.
All right, so you got your guitar tuned down 4 strings, and you finally go buy you a bass, right?
Right.
Then did you instantly get a band?
Well, I did have a little band at that point in time. See, the first band I was ever in, I was 13 years old, and we played for a variety show at our elementary school.
Oh, that's cool.
And one of the guys that I played with then, I'm playing with now.
Oh, really?
With Rocky Yelton Hired Guns.
Okay. Oh, so you played with him back then? All the way
Yeah,
back then.
for that's about 41 years ago. So,
Wow. That's,
his name's Johnny McKinney.
yeah, I know who he is.
And,
Also.
Yeah, he is. He's one of the finer ones that I've played with, and I've played with a bunch of great ones.
He's still playing too.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and that's important.
That is important. It is to. It's sad to see good musicians go by the wayside, quit playing.
Mm-hmm.
I like to see when they're old guys and still out playing, and I like to hear young guys play too. So, what did you do? You got this band when you were 13.
Yeah.
Did that continue on for a little while?
No, it didn't. It was just primarily put together for that little show.
Right.
And really didn't do anything after that until I guess I was in high school, and had a little band then. And
Same people.
no, actually it was different people, except for one guy. And I mentioned the Jenkins family earlier.
Right.
Philip Jenkins was one of them, and he was playing guitar. He's a pretty good banjo picker too. He's
Yeah.
played. You
would
know
think
him.
Maybe, yeah. You would think you'd pick that up somewhere along the way.
Oh yeah. But he's played with the Far City Boys
Right.
and folks like that, and I learned a great deal from him. When it come to
Right.
playing guitar, back in the day. So the bass playing, ironically, there was a guy from the church that I went to, and he played for the Stetson Gang, and that was Robert Teague.
Oh yeah, Robert Teague. Yeah.
So he was a big inspiration to me when
Right.
I was coming up, learning to play the bass and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And he always tried to encourage me and ask me how I was doing. And
Well, I think you have to have encouragement. I came from a family that wasn't very encouraging. My grandparents were encouraging, but my parents were not at all.
oh yeah,
So
I can relate to that. My mom was encouraging, and the strange thing is that Dad bought me that guitar, but he never liked to hear me play it.
Well, that's funny because mine was kind of the opposite. Well, they did get me my first one, but when it was time for me to, Bob Dylan was a big influence in my life early on. But then, like, the Beatles came around, it's like, oh, and the Rolling Stones, it's like, Jimi Hendrix, well, I want to play electric guitar, They weren't I had to get a neighbor's dad to get me an electric guitar. And paid him back from my paper route for, it seemed like, until I was like 25. I paid him back a long time.
That took you a while, didn't it?
Well, and then it's really funny. I paid him back, and then in the end, after I paid him back, he gave me all the money back. Just the kind of guy he was. He's a nice guy.
Yeah,
I guess he was showing me that somebody does something good for you, and you work and pay them back, and then maybe it comes back. I mean, it's kind of been a thing I've always carried with me all my life. Guy was a good guy.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'd as far as the bass and stuff like that, when I was playing guitar, I had aspired to be a guitarist, or a lead guitarist at some point in time. And you was talking about your influence being Dylan. Mine was Paul Stanley of Kiss.
Oh, that's a good one, though. I mean.
Yeah, and I really dug all the makeup and stuff like that.
And
cool. Dabbled a little bit in singing, also. I wasn't much of a singer, early on. But I did learn a few techniques and stuff. Actually, back when I was a kid, there was a church nearby that would do singing schools.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and they'd do that in lieu of what you call Bible school nowadays.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, and the good thing was there was a representative that would come by that represented Stamps Baxter School.
Oh, yeah.
So I had the opportunity to learn shape notes.
Well, I was getting ready to ask you, I was going with that. Did it come from shape notes? And
yeah.
That's a great learning education right there in itself.
Oh, yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Frankie Harder was the name of the guy that would come. And he was very well known for that. Learned a lot about, choral music and stuff like that.
I guess you got into the harmony singing part of it too.
I did, and I didn't really take it serious at that point in time. As being a kid, the only thing I wanted to do was just, be able to learn to sing.
Right. Well, it's one of those things that you take the influence in, don't think about it, but then it pays off at a later date.
Oh yeah. And it has. It's taken me places that never would have dreamed to be.
Right. Yeah, I know. Now, you're in high school, got you a band. Mm-hmm. And then does that continue pretty much during high school?
It did, pretty much, up to the point that we had a guitarist that he got in a little trouble, and his dad took his guitar and stuff away, and me and the three other guys were saying, well, what do we do now?
Right.
And we got wind that they was somebody had put an ad in the paper looking for a lead guitarist, a bassist, and a drummer for a country band.
Right.
And we'd never, played country. Right. Me and Philip had played some bluegrass, together, but never no country. And he said, "What do you think about this?" And I said, "Well, we'll give it a try." Yeah. So we went and all three of us tried out and got it.
Oh, that's funny.
So we did that for probably about a year or so, and then we graduated high school and went our separate ways. So that.
Did you lay music down during that time?
I did. I had a brief stint in the military, and had gotten married and moved away, and then of course I went to college. Was talking about Art Mooney.
Yeah.
I actually enrolled down here at Cleveland Tech at the same time he did. That's where I met him.
I'm sorry.
I met him then, and then ran into him again when I bought my first real guitar.
Right. Was he at Apple Tree then?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
He was. I bought a nice candy apple red G&L SB2.
Yeah, that's,
And I'll never, in fact, I think I've bought about 3 or 4 different guitars from him at different places he's worked.
oh yeah, over the years, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he has.
But he
Me
is,
too.
yeah, he's always turned me on to some excellent guitars, and I've always appreciated him.
Yeah. So at what point did you get yourself back into music?
I had moved back into town, and I had saw in a publication where the Hutchins brothers had went out to Fanfare, and they had had a booth out there. They were associated with Lamont Records out of Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd, messed around with them from time to time. Went to school with the Hutchins' first cousin, Tony Robertson.
Okay.
And I just give him a call, and I said, how you guys doing? I said, a lot of waters went up under the bridge. See that you've been out at the Fanfare. And he said, well, it's a funny thing that you called. He said, we're putting a road band together, and we need a bassist. He said, would you be willing? I said, well, yeah, sure. I ain't got nothing else better to do.
Yeah.
So I was with them for about a year or so. We were going around and trying to promote that trailer song that Phil Ruff had wrote.
Phil wrote, yeah. Phil wrote that.
Yeah, so that was one of the situations where, we had to do odd jobs on the side, trying to go here and there and to push a song. And you'd go to some town, on a weekend to go play and had $20 in your pocket, didn't know where you was going to sleep or if you was going to eat,
Yeah.
So road life's not all that glamorous.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
But yeah, that's where I got started back. And
Did you play with him a pretty good while?
it was about a year and a half. Yeah.
That's a pretty good while.
Yeah,
Bands.
it is.
I mean, that's a life skill for a band for the most part.
Yeah, longevity is not
No.
kind sometimes to bands.
No, it's not. So then what happens?
Well, after that, I had formed a band with some guys that, let's see, 1 or 2 that I'd worked with, and another guy, drummer Darrin Rollins. He's from Grover, North Carolina. He's originally from Rutherford County, but we put a little band together called Horizon, and we played a little bit, recorded a little bit, for about a year, and then I had gotten wind that Peeler's Mill was looking for a band,
I'm sorry,
a bass
again.
player. No sorry needed. You're part of that alumni also, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
But anyway, I had the funny thing is Lance Hutchins of the Hutchins brothers said, look, I'm going to go audition as a singer for a band. Said they need a bass player. Would you be willing to go and audition? I said, sure. So I show up and he doesn't.
Oh,
And it was right over here at the wig shop on Lafayette.
yep.
Downstairs.
In the basement, yeah.
Yep. And go down there, and I show up, and I didn't even have a case for my guitar. I was playing I don't know why in the world I didn't have my G&L, but I had an Aria Pro 2 Cat bass.
Oh, yeah. That's actually pretty cool bass.
Yeah, it was easy to play, and I liked the feel of it.
Yeah.
So, and I brought it down on a stand and a patch cable and a strap. And the first thing that Kenny Coble said when I walked in, he said, "So what kind of bass player comes in here without a without a case?" And I thought, man, this is going to go well. So ran over about 4 or 5 songs, and Louis Ledford looks at me and says, "Well," said, "is your schedule open?" Said, "Can you play?" And you know how he was. He was kind of brash, and I said, "Well, yeah."
Kind of being kind.
And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Are you saying that I'm in?" He said, "Well, if you want it." And I said, "Yeah, sure I do." I said, "I wouldn't have come and audition if I didn't."
Right.
So I stuck with those guys for about 2 years. That's from 1990 to 1992, and played a lot up in Catawba County.
Yeah, you play a lot in Catawba County.
Yeah, that was a country music bar, and The Finish Line.
Yeah.
Wayno's.
Wayno's, yeah.
What was it? The Hickory Moose.
Yeah, been there, done all those. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And enjoyed those times, though. That was my first experience being with people that were older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I had learned a lot of songs that I had never heard before, been exposed to. And Ray Alley was,
The guitarist then.
yeah, he was a guitarist, but he was a great mentor when it comes to the bass.
Oh, he's a great mentor when it comes to bass.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic bass player.
Yep, he
and
was.
a good guitarist too.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah. Old Razor. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think I ever seen somebody with such short fingers move so fast
I
on a
agree.
fretboard.
You know, Louis and I found Ray playing with a guy, and the guy had a fantastic band. And we stole Ray from that guy, and we stole a girl singer from that very same band. Because the guy used to rehearse his bands, and he had such good band members, but he would rehearse them and rehearse them and rehearse them, and they'd only play out a couple of times a year.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to him and say, hey, we're probably not as tight as Jeff runs his band, but guess what? We play a lot. And so they both get, y'all making money? Oh yeah. So, so yeah.
Yeah, that's funny how that causes that very thing.
and the guy's band was really good. I mean, he had really good musicians, and he kept a really good band. They just didn't play enough to make money.
Yeah.
So he was blind. He was a blind piano player.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story, not on tape later.
Okay.
So, all right. So, where do we go from Peeler's Mill? Hey. All right, I'm back with Darrin. He's just getting ready to leave Peeler's Mill. So, we're leaving Peeler's Mill, and where do we go?
Well, we were gone maybe 40 plus weekends,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
a year with
Yeah.
Peeler's Mill. It was wide open. Sometimes you have like 2 gigs a weekend.
Yeah.
And that got to be a bit much on the family life.
Sure it does.
And one of my family members had expressed that that was, kind of troublesome for them.
Sure.
And so I had to make a decision, and then I finally approached the band, told them that I was, going to be leaving, and played a notice for them.
Yeah.
And it's about 4 months long, though.
Yeah, I do know. Looking for the bass player.
Yeah, it's.
I played a long time before I got Phil to come replace me. For
Oh.
basically the same reasons that you were leaving. So,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that was extensive. And, for a lot of people say 4 months, but, the thing about Peeler's Mill was they just wasn't any kind of run-of-the-mill band,
No, they weren't. No,
They had everything and had a 200 plus,
Sure.
song repertoire.
Yeah,
So,
they did.
and it took me a while to get worked in, but finally I left, and it's about a year. I didn't do anything after that.
Right.
Really didn't know what to do because had to just make the moral decision
Sure.
to stay at home.
Yeah.
Well, the brother-in-law of mine had invited me over for a jam session, and got over there, and I met some people I'd never seen before, and we were all jamming on stuff like Billy Joel and stuff like that. And the only thing about it was I wasn't playing the bass. I was over there on a guitar because
okay.
there's already a bass player there, so I just jumped on a guitar. And there's a guy on the keys over there, and he was pretty hot, tearing that thing up.
Right.
And he mentioned to me, he said, I play in a group. He said, I'd like for you to, come and, sit in with us sometimes. And I said, well, I'm not a guitarist. And he said, well, I like what you're doing. And he said, it complements, my keyboards. Well, I didn't know this at the time, but he was a Southern gospel pianist.
Oh, yeah.
And how would I have known that? Was over there jamming on rock tunes, and stuff. So a year later, I was at my mother's church, and they were having a singing, and lo and behold, there he was with the group.
Oh, yeah.
And he turns around and says, "Where have you been?" And I said, "What do you mean, where have I been?" He said, "Man," said, "set up a jam session, for you to come over and jam with us with the group. You never showed up." And I said, "Well, I didn't know that was, a formal invitation." So from that time, I decided to, finally go over and just, sit in and jam with them. And I did. And they asked me if I wanted to come along, and I did. And that group ended up being the Glory Land Singers out of Forest City.
Yeah.
So I was with them for about a year.
As a guitarist.
As a guitarist.
Sure.
And actually that was the first time that I had ever made a commercial recording, and probably the only time on a 6-string acoustic.
Oh yeah, as a guitar player, yeah.
As a guitar player. So I even played the lead on one song, and I was like, this has been years since I've done anything like that, going from, going from 4 strings to 6, it was a big deal.
I agree.
So then I got into that genre.
Right, yeah.
And which ended up being, somewhere near 17 years long.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is a long time.
Yeah. And I jumped from one thing to another. I went from playing guitar, I was a bassist, and then ended up getting into quartets.
Oh yeah.
And singing first tenor.
Oh yeah.
And so that.
Which is a totally different gig than Peeler's Mill.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I did get to sing a little bit with Peeler's Mill, and you can see some of that on YouTube. But it wasn't anywhere near as taxing as the Southern Gospel is, because that's a very disciplined type singing.
Yes, it is.
And I can butcher the King's English, but when you sing that Southern Gospel, you have to really be articulate and enunciate well.
You do.
So that was a big challenge.
So we spent 17 years doing that?
Yes.
Wow. And so at some point you leave that behind, or are you still doing that?
No, I left that somewhere around 2009, 2010, something like that. Just a decision to leave that behind. I didn't feel like that was what I wanted to do anymore.
Yeah.
And really didn't do much, after that, just things here and there.
Yeah.
I did join a little 70s band. We did that for a few months.
Right.
And let's see, sometimes these timelines,
Yes,
kind
I
of
do.
confuse you.
Yeah, oh, man.
You just
You
do
like
so
telling
much.
me.
But I always wanted to front a band. And so I joined up with some guys and put together a band for a show. And as funny as it sounds, the band's name was Nevermore.
Yeah.
And the joke is that we did one show, so Nevermore is Nevermore.
That's funny.
But I had no business at that point in time even trying to front anything. I had so much going on.
What kind of music was this?
Oh, it was just 80s rock mostly.
Okay.
Yeah, hair band stuff,
Yeah.
and I had the range, but I don't think at that point in time that my heart was exactly into that.
Right.
I just had like I said, I had a lot of things going on. My sister had gotten sick, and she had ovarian cancer, and she passed away in 2013, around about that time. But she's in a better place. I'm glad she ain't suffering no more.
I lost
But
a cousin to the very same thing,
Oh.
so I do understand.
that's some terrible stuff,
It
that
is.
cancer
It
is. But and then I got back up on my feet, and started doing some more playing and jamming, and then I get a call from Johnny McKinney
Yeah.
in 2017 and asked me if I was willing to come and be part of Rocky Yelton and the Hired Guns. They had taken about 1.5 to 2 years off because their drummer had passed away from a heart attack. And I said, wow, yeah. I said, that sounds interesting. I was a fan of theirs for a long time, followed them around, palled around with them, and to play with them was a whole different dynamic.
Oh yeah.
So as of August 2nd, 2017, till now,
That's well, that's good. I mean, that's a pretty wide variety of music you played over the years.
yeah, it is. And, I'm thankful for all of it.
Well, and I'm guessing that all that stems from all those early records you listened to.
They did. I tell everybody, anybody that asks me about who influenced me the most as far as singing goes.
Right.
And, I've sang country, I've sang bluegrass, and I've sang gospel and hard rock.
Right.
But to tell them that my biggest single most influence to sing was B.J. Thomas, they look at me like, huh?
That's funny, yeah.
Yeah.
Raindrops. Keep
Yeah.
falling in, yeah.
But my favorite song to sing of his was Done Somebody Wrong song.
Yeah, that's a good song. Yeah.
And I had a chance to sing that too, and I love that guy. I mean, he had a great mellow voice.
He did. Had a lot of success.
Yeah. And, but yeah, my interest and my influences are very diverse.
They are, because Rocky's a different deal too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a hard-driven country.
Yeah.
We nickname ourselves Bionic Country for the hard-driven side of that. And,
That's funny.
yeah, it
I
is.
do.
It is. But it's fun. It's fun to be playing with one of my longtime friends,
Sure.
Johnny McKinney. After 41 years with our first gig together.
Yeah.
And
I agree. It is good to play with people that you know and like.
mm-hmm.
I mean, it does help people that you've known for a long time.
Oh yeah,
There's
absolutely.
nothing like that,
But they always, just about any group or band that I've joined, they all done the fun stuff before I come
Oh
home.
yeah, well, that's a good thing though. I mean,
Yeah.
kind of lets you get to play the music and miss out on all the fun's not good sometimes.
It is. It can be a little strenuous sometimes,
Yeah, it
but
can.
I do have a good time with them.
Well, it's a great story, and I'm glad you've taken the time to come by and share this with us.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and I appreciate the invite.
All right, thank you.
Well, he has a great name. He's the ancient of days. He has a great name. He's the author of praise. He has a great name. He's the truth and the way. Our Lord has a great, great name. Yes, our Lord has a great, great name. He has a great name. He's the ancient of days. He has a great name. He's the author of praise. He has a great name. He's the truth and the way. Our Lord has a great, great name. Yes, our Lord has a great, great name. Our God has a name that's above all names, which every knee must bow. A name by whom all must be saved and exalted then and now. The human mind can't comprehend a majesty so high. You can't reach it, you can't touch it, but it sure feels good to try. He has a great name. I can just see them walking on the shore of heaven, praising the Lord, watching the tide rolling. Friends that have gone, oh how I miss you so. Somehow I know if you could, you'd let me know that you're doing fine. It doesn't hurt anymore.
Hi, and welcome to Season 2 of Big Sound Small Town, the podcast that spotlights the talented and diverse musicians in small towns and communities. This season we're branching out to include the community of people who make it possible for musicians to be able to perform their music, the producers, the recording engineers, the venue owners, and many others, and as always, the small town musicians. Remember, small town doesn't mean small talent. Hear their stories.